Good morning, everybody. I am Audrey Whisker, Principal Architect at Whisker Architecture, and today I am discussing updates to the Australian National Construction Code, which came into effect on the 1st of May 2024. This presentation was made to the RACV Club Melbourne Property Cove Real Estate Resilience presentation on the 30th of May, and I am sharing it now with you. Before we dive into these changes, this presentation is made public for creating awareness only. By consuming this content, you are aware that you still have the responsibility to check with your local statutory authorities to see how this does or may affect your project. I will not be going through every clause that's changed. What I will be providing is an overview of 6 main areas: livable housing, energy efficiency, other residential updates, condensation mitigation, waterproofing of wet areas, and a general look ahead. So let's start with livable housing. These changes aim to make homes more adaptable and easier for people of all ages and abilities. The requirements apply to all new Class 1A buildings, so homes, as well as Class 2 buildings, which are apartments. So this only applies to the actual apartments, not to any common areas inside an apartment building. Livable housing design involves creating homes that can adapt to the changing needs of occupants over time. This includes reducing or eliminating steps wherever possible, providing more space in bathrooms and wider doorways, and ensuring that homes can be easily modified in the future by allowing structure for future grab rails in the bathrooms. So some of the costs we expect to be incurred and passed on to the end customers include the design and drafting costs to update floor plan catalogues, because there will be floor plans that are no longer compliant, as well as because there is a step-free requirement for either the boundary, there is a requirement for a step-free path from either the boundary or a dedicated on-site parking space. So some residential companies have previously excluded driveways from their quotes. This may require either the addition of a path or a driveway to achieve a building permit. It's not necessarily how it will be resolved, but there may be that requirement for that to be included into a construction home contract from now on. However, these features do make homes more accessible and convenient for everyone, including parents with prams, people with temporary or permanent injuries, seniors and people with disabilities, and more. It's worth pointing out that it costs around 22% more to retrofit a home for accessibility than to include these features during the initial construction. So these changes support the concept of aging in place and reduce the future cost of modifications. Some of the people who will benefit from this will be any seniors looking to stay in their home longer and maintain independence through aging in place, multi-generational households, so not only making it easier for children to move around the space safely, but also older people as well. Anybody who may have had an injury, I'm sure there's usually at least one child who goes through their teenage years who ends up on crutches. And then, of course, making it easier for visitors to enter your home as well. Even though they may not be living there, they may not be able to access the entire home, it is really nice to be able to have visitors able to at least get into the main living areas and be able to go to the bathroom. The NCC also introduces a series of changes aimed at reducing emissions and moving towards a net zero future. So these changes affect commercial buildings, so Class 3, Class 5 to 9, and the common areas of apartment buildings, so this is Class 2. These updates provide cost-effective fuel and technology-neutral methods to move towards a net zero future. They also support the growing uptake of electric vehicles. Some of the key changes include updates to improve energy efficiency, as well as updates to EV or electric vehicle charging infrastructure, so allowing for future EV charging, as well as allowing for future photovoltaic or solar panels on the roof. So as far as, I won't go into all of the details of what's changing here, but as far as the solar panels on the roof are concerned, there is a requirement now for 20% of the building's roof to be left clear for future solar panel installation, unless more than 50% of the roof area is used for other purposes, like terraces, car parks, or roof gardens. And that change is expected because we have a lot of wasted roof space in Australia, and it should either be giving back amenity to the people who are using the building, or it should be being used or have the ability to be used for power generation. These measures are part of broader government initiatives to transition towards a renewable energy grid, enabling future electrification by making it easier to replace gas-powered equipment and obviously petrol-powered cars with electric alternatives. From the 1st of May, new homes must also now meet a minimum 7-star energy efficiency rating. So this was a 6-star requirement and is now a 7-star requirement. This will mean lower energy bills for homeowners, which is fantastic, as well as a reduced environmental footprint. This change is crucial as poorly insulated homes contribute significantly to health risks. Studies have shown a 14.7% increase in deaths during winter in Australia, which have been linked to cold weather and thermally inefficient housing. The average star rating of a home in Australia before the star rating system came into effect is anywhere from 1.2 stars to 2 stars. So we have had a significant increase in the energy efficiency of these homes. There has also been a change to how these homes are being assessed. So there is now a whole of home assessment. So this is looking at the overall annual energy use of a home with a new limit on energy consumption. This assessment considers the type of heating and cooling equipment, the type of hot water system, the lighting, any use of swimming pools and spas, and on-site renewable energy. A home must achieve a score of 60 out of 100 to pass, with 100 being carbon neutral. Efficient appliances and PV systems will increase the score, while inefficient appliances and high energy use features will decrease it. The annual energy use budget for apartments is slightly more lenient, recognizing the challenges of installing rooftop solar panels. If you are interested in understanding more about building and renovating for 7 stars, if you are interested in understanding more about building and renovating for 7 stars, you can download our free guide at whiskerarchitecture.com. The NCC now also includes provision for secondary dwellings, such as granny flats. These are capped at 60 square metres. There is an exemption for a planning permit. However, there are local planning clauses that may still require a planning permit. So this does not give a blanket green light, but it does help. And there are a few other items that people should consider, particularly the requirements for utilities to be connected to the small secondary dwelling, which, if you would like those to be separately metered, is something that you need to understand with your local NBN service or mailing service or electrical and water services. Private open space is still required, and it is a separate requirement for SSDs. So this means that an SSD is still entitled to their own backyard or equivalent. Corner blocks, these buildings still need to be set back the same as corner blocks, so that may make it trickier on a smaller block. And there's also requirements around fire separation. So very important things to keep in mind. In theory, this does make it easier for smaller dwellings to be created. However, it is not a blanket. Anybody can build them anywhere. There have also been some updates with sound transmission within apartments, because this has been a significant concern, and it's obviously something that deters people from wanting to live in apartments, is knowing that you'll be able to hear your neighbours next door. And so as somebody who has lived in an apartment and has definitely heard their neighbours at 2 a.m, I understand. So this includes improved wall and floor construction techniques and enhanced materials for soundproofing. There have been some minor changes to the waterproofing of wet areas. None of them are very significant, because some of the significant changes happened in an earlier NCC update. However, they do take into account the growing popularity of bidets and clarify some additional technical requirements. So bidets became quite popular, especially during the early months of the COVID pandemic, as a way of not necessarily using as much toilet paper, since we did have quite the shortage for a minute there, but they are still growing in popularity, and that's probably also because we have such a multicultural population in Australia. Condensation mitigation. This has been very hotly discussed in our industry. So there are a few different changes that have happened here. So quantified up targets for allowable condensation risks, enhanced building ventilation requirements for well-sealed homes and homes with gas or wood fire heaters have both been changed. So the quantified targets means that they do have a mold index now. That's quite terrifying to know, but very, very important. And the envelope sealing has methods have changed as well. So there is a requirement for continuous ventilation in all well-sealed homes. So if a home has less than 6 air changes per hour, it is required to have additional mechanical ventilation. Usually this is done as a heat recovery unit, and there is a required ventilation for any combustion appliances, so gas and wood-fired heaters. This is to make sure that we don't have any deaths due to carbon monoxide poisoning. Clarifications have been brought in around the use of building wraps, and there is a mandated roof space ventilation in cool climate zones to prevent condensation buildup inside your roof space. So Melbourne is in a cool climate zone, and so is most of Victoria. So this will affect our clients as well. One of the main changes that a lot of people will not be aware of is that all exhaust systems are now mandated to exhaust outside instead of into the roof spaces. So previously, your range hood may have exhausted into your roof space, your bathroom exhaust may have exhausted into your roof space. This caused a lot of extra condensation and water inside the roof space, which also led to mold inside your roof space. I don't know why it was ever allowed, but it is now mandated that all exhaust needs to exhaust outside of the building. Areas that require exhaust, like an internal toilet, will require the exhaust fan to be activated with the room lights and to continue to operate for 10 minutes after the lights are turned off. So this is to make sure that we constantly have fresh air in our buildings, and anywhere that has a requirement for an exhaust has to have that. You turn it on, the exhaust goes on, you leave the room, you turn the light off, and the exhaust continues to run for 10 extra minutes. So what does all of this mean? Industry bodies disagree with the cost of the current changes, varying from around $25,000 per home by some HIA members to closer to $4,000 per home by property council members. And since an average suburban driveway can easily cost $20,000, I suspect that is where at least some of the discrepancy between these two groups comes from. We do know that fire safety, condensation, energy efficiency, and electrification are all areas that have been flagged for future improvement in the next NCC updates, and we are expecting another construction code update to come through next year, so we will have a 2025 NCC at this point. In the meantime, commencing on the 1st of September 2026, lead content in plumbing fixtures will be significantly reduced. Right now, we're reducing the lead content down to be no more than 0.25%. So currently it's up at 6%. And of course, last but not least, this has been coming for a while, been definitely spoken about for a long time in the media. But as of the 1st of July, there is a complete ban on the manufacturing, supply, processing, and installation of engineered stone. So this is going to have an effect on pricing and manufacturing equipment. We are seeing a lot of different options coming out of the market regarding this. So Porcelain is one. It is more expensive and more difficult to use, but there are a lot of other changes in the market, and we look forward to coming back to the group with a bit more information once we understand what alternatives are coming out. Are they any better, or are they just replacing silica with something that is just as toxic? And what we are going to start recommending to our clients. At the moment, we're recommending porcelain, laminate, and stainless steel, depending on the client, but we will be looking into more alternatives and fully understanding the price brackets of all of those as well. It was an amazing event. Really, really grateful to the organisers. We had 11, I think, different presenters on the day, as well as over 100 people in the room, all industry leaders, all fantastic professionals, and I'm really grateful to have been included in the presentation. Thank you very much, and I hope you got something out of this. Have a fantastic day.